Well, this anime TV series was a complete surprise for me. I first heard about it from the website Double Toasted from one of its co-hosts, Chris Herman. Shout out to them. And from his description, I was immediately interested about this show. So, Dororo is a TV series that premiered back in 2019, and apparently it's based on a 1960s manga created by the legendary Osamu Tezuka. Many of you probably know Osamu Tezuka, and I think my first encounter with this legendary manga creator was with Astro Boy. Probably some of you know Astro Boy from that CGI movie from 10 years ago, I think. But I recollect that I've seen some of the original episodes from the anime series, and it was pretty good. Osamu Tezuka is also the mind between Kimba the White Lion. Many of you probably know about Kimba from the controversy that probably Disney based the Lion King from Kimba the White Lion, but I'll let you guys figure that out. Also, what else I heard about Osamu Tezuka was Blackjack, but I never got to see it. And Dororo was, from what I understand, was a 4-volume manga that was cancelled back in the 60s, and this manga was also previously adapted into an anime series also when it had its original manga run. Um, this manga is not on its first adaptation back in 2019. We had that 60s TV series. We had like a video game that in the United States was sold as Blood Will Tell. It was a PlayStation 2 exclusive. And I've seen some footage from Blood Will Tell. It looked pretty cool. It reminded me a lot of Wolf and Cub, I think that series is called. And also, apparently, they also did a 2007 live action adaptation to Dororo, but from what I see, it wasn't that favorably reviewed. But this TV series, yeah, it was a complete surprise for me. I liked it from beginning till end, and you can see some of the sensibilities, the influences from the 60s. I mean, you can see that there are some character designs that you don't see anymore in a modern TV series, some plot points that happen differently, some characters. There are many elements that, in my opinion, kind of show that this manga, this anime series happens like back in the 60s, and it was just updated from for modern audiences. And I'd say that the updates that they did were in animation. The animation is amazing. I really liked it, especially for some episodes. The animation was very good. In some episodes, it was a little uh, different in quality, but still, I would say that the anime is consistently amazing. The main plot of the show is that our main character Hyakimaru, if I remember who, yeah, Hyakimaru, our main character, has to retrieve his body parts. So he wears prosthetics for his legs and arms and the eyes and the nose and ears, and he has to to kill different ghouls, different demons, so he can retrieve his body parts, because his father made a pact with these demons to save his land from starvation and from destruction, and to give it prosperity. So his he sacrificed his firstborn child, so he could get that prosperity for his land. And this is also interesting enough. The name of the manga is the name of his companion throughout the TV show, Dororo, which is a kid who was also orphaned by the war. So I liked that. This is one of those points that I want to talk about, that shows that it's kind of a product of a different time, because the manga happens during the medieval Japanese time, the samurai times, and although the second character was also orphaned by the war, there are moments of levity to the series. There are characters who are funny, and there are episodes who are fun, but there's also plenty of tragedy in this show. And I liked that this show knew how to keep a balance between being serious and being fun, and the animation knew when to be funny and when to be serious. I liked it. And sometimes I was like, oh my god, I think this character or this other character won't survive this series. And I was surprised to see some of the characters that survived the series. So yeah, it had its moments of heart. This show, that's a thing that I liked so much about it. The music, the original soundtrack, had also its moments. It had some moments when I really liked it, and some of its moments were like basic original soundtrack that you would hear in a anime based on samurai themes. The openings and endings to the show, they changed at the 13 episode mark, and to be sincere, I preferred the first opening to the second one, and I preferred the first ending to the second one, but the animation quality was very good to them. And I'd also like to talk about the main plot. So the main plot is, as I said before, that the main character wants to recover his body parts so he can be whole again. And the show raises some very interesting philosophical questions, some interesting themes, where what is more important, the well-being of a greater population than of one person? And these were interesting subjects that the manga and the anime covered, that some you would say that were some political questions that it raised, because it felt sometimes like it was talking about sacrificing the youth for the government, and the old generation sending young people to die for their beliefs, because his father, who did the pact with the demons, sometimes he seemed like he wanted to sacrifice his only born for the country, but sometimes it seemed that he just wanted to sacrifice his son for him just being the king, and he wanted more and more territory. So it was like something egotistical from him, that he sacrificed his son. Everything the Daigo Kagemitsu did apparently was just so that he was happy from some points of view, and that I could see parallels to government and politicians that sometimes think they know better for their population, but sometimes maybe it's just their greed and their own hubris to that they know better for their country and for their government. So that was a very interesting thing, and it raised the points where sometimes you tell those selfish lies that you think that you're doing the best that you think you can do, but sometimes you're just doing it for yourself. And that was a very interesting subject that the anime raised, and its execution was done very well, because it also showed Hyakimaru that was sometimes devoured internally at an internal point of view. He was sometimes devoured by his ambition to recover his body parts. Sometimes other characters were telling him, you should uh, you should just let it go and not sacrifice a whole country for your body. But he was like, no, this is mine, and I want it back. And this is another thing that talks maybe about, maybe during the 60s, maybe Osamu Tezuka raised some interesting subjects about the youth being sacrificed by the older generation. And that's what I really liked about the show, when I started realizing that, and the internal conflicts, and it's an amazing show. And also I would like to talk about the Berserk parallel that I saw. So in my opinion, if people know about the manga Berserk, which is a manga that appeared in 1989 and created by Kentaro Miura, I think Berserk was also influenced by Dororo, because Gatsu, the main character of the Berserk manga, is also demon hunter, and he's out for revenge. And the periods differ, but they're still kind of the same medieval times for both of them. Yeah, I also like the yeah, I also can see those influences there, and it was something amazing. I think Kentaro Miura was very influenced, but also he went in his separate direction at some parts, and also both of the mangas know how to deal with loss and tragedy, and characters that are killed off, and you're saddened by losing those characters. So yeah, I can see a lot of parallels. Also, I have to say that the acting in Dororo was really good. From what I understand, the name of Dororo comes from Dorobo, thief. Um, Also, another element that I want to talk about, apparently the 1960s animation. Sorry for coming back to the 1961, but I want to raise this subject. Apparently, it was the 1960s animation, the first TV series was also the first TV series from World Master Theater Productions. If people know about this, they are famous for Heidi Girl of the Alps, but also the World Masterpiece Theater were some of the first TV series that I got to see when I was a kid, and these guys produced like a lot of animes that if you ever have like a nostalgia, who you want to watch old show from back of the 80s, and also want to see, maybe some people are like, oh, anime series are always about scantily clad women and giant robots. You should show one of the world masterpiece theater shows, that because they produced like a TV series based on Little Women, called The Tales of Little Women, and they also did a TV series on The Adventures of Peter Pan, and a TV series based on The Sound of Music, called Trap Family Story. So yeah, I this manga has a really interesting history behind it, from its creator, who was one of the most legendary and influential manga creators of the Japanese history, to how it was adapted two times into a TV series, and once in a live action and once in a video game. Also, returning a little to the 2019 series, I'd like to say that I think most of I recently now I try to mark episodes on IMDb to an anime, especially a short one like this one, because it's like 24 episodes. And from what I see, I gave like a lot of nines out of 10 to a lot of episodes. Some I gave them 8. Those episodes that were an 8 out of 10, they're also very cool because they kind of focused more on the world than on the characters. But I also gave a lot of 10s to the show. And as my final score to this anime series, I would say that it's a solid 9 out of 10. I would recommend it to other friends of mine. Thank you for listening.